your sacrifice, your unselfishness, your sympathy, your compassion, those will endure.
Yes, because those are the qualities of the soul, and that's what is being developed in the world. With each new life the soul goes through, it attempts to develop these qualities of light and love and the strength of will and relating it all to the light and love and will of God, because that is the purpose of the soul's existence is on earth, is to serve that great need of bringing light and love into the world and anchoring it into the world in human consciousness. And so that is what it attempts to develop in and gain an experience. It's also gaining experience in in working in physical substance, which has not always been part of the soul's experience, but it is, as long as it keeps these life after life process going. So it's but you were saying about what is it that survives after death, and it's a little difficult to kind of understand that, I think, but it is said that your individuality is not lost. There is that sense of individuality that always remains, whether you're in a physical body or outside the physical body, and whether have gone through the death process or not. There is that individuality. In the human terms, it's the I self, and that which enables us to identify ourselves as I am. And that's what remains always, and that's where the immortal part of us comes in. And all the rest is forms or just different personality lifetimes that we've been through, but that same individuality continues on afterwards.
Don't you think that sense of individuality is the sense of awareness of identity? Like you said, I am, but not with a trace of I am special, I am unique, I am different from everyone else, no one else is quite like me. It's not that kind of individuality, are you saying?
No, it isn't that. It's just a much deeper, more subtle sense of I
am. Alice Bailey said, though we are one with all that lives and breathes, yet she said, identity ever remains. Though we are one with all that lives and breathes, identity ever remains. I don't think it means that we stay separated and distinct so much as aware, that awareness remains.
Mm-hmm. And it's that same identity that, whether it's in the state of the personality life or in the state of the soul itself, because even the soul eventually gives up its own, what is called the causal body, and it moves on into the monadic or the father aspect, and it returns to the Father, as Christ said, I must return to my Father. But he doesn't bring all that baggage with him. It's just the experience that the I self has retained all through this great process.
I think it's easy to lose sight of the fact that death is an expression of the will of the soul. So often we think of death as something that happens without any management or administration. It's just sort of a calamity that occurs at some point, and then the screen comes down and goes blank. But in fact, Alice Bailey said the act of death is an act of will. There are accidents that happen that the soul cannot always predict or control, apparently, I suppose in times of war and so on, certainly. But speaking about most of us who live out a lifetime, either short or long, and who die through illness or whatever, It's an act of will. She said death comes to the individual human being when the will to live in the physical body goes, and the will to abstract takes its place. That's a decision of the soul. The will to live in the physical body goes. At some point the soul knows it has done what it can and should in that particular incarnation, in that particular body. And she said this we call death. And from its own place the soul of the individual recognizes the end of a cycle and recalls its life. It does this through a discharge of the will energy that's strong enough to bring about the change.
Right. It's in the process of natural death. It's the soul's decision of when to end it, when to terminate this process, and when to return to the source. And it's a long, rather complicated process, at least if you try to explain it, but to the soul it's just a simple matter of cutting the life thread and essentially pulling the plug, and the life force it stops, and the body dies, but the soul lives on. So it's a decision of the soul when to do this, though. So I think that's another way that we have to bow to the soul and allow the soul to carry out its will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think this is understood in the saying, when someone is getting ready to die, it's his time. There's this recognition that it's the right time, and those of us who have to let that person go have to release them with love and trust, and it's very, very hard. It's not an easy thing. I don't want to minimize that. But there is a passage from an ancient spiritual text, the Bhagavad Gita, that to me really sums up the trust we should have in the process of death and rebirth and immortality. Krishna was speaking to the suffering Arjuna, who was seeing death in this great war taking place all around him, and he didn't know what to do. And Krishna said to him, "Know thou that there never was a time when I, nor thou, nor any of these princes of earth was not, nor shall there ever come a time hereafter when any of us shall cease to be."
Please take advantage of the special offer from Lucis Publishing Company, and that's the Alice Valley book, Death, the Great Adventure. Death, the Great Adventure is a compilation of extracts on the spiritual meaning of death from the books of Alice Valley. Quote from that book, "The present cycle is the end of the age, and the next 200 years will see the abolition of death, as we now understand that great transition, and the establishing of the fact of the soul's existence." The book is available for $12, and you need to send a check or a money order, $12, to Lucis Publishing, Lucis, L-U-C-I-S, Lucis Publishing Company, 120 Wall Street, New York, New York, 10005. You've been listening to Inner Sight. Now we would like to close with a world prayer called the Great Invocation. It's a call for light and love and goodwill to flow into the world and into our hearts. Let's listen for a moment to these powerful words.
From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into human minds. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into human hearts. May the coming one return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all little human wills, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the human race, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth.